Hydrogen tap. If you looked at the last video, you'll have seen the tin wire that I had with the electrolyte, trying to see what was going on with the smaller area. What I'm doing here is combining the tin wire and one of the Aron cell plates. If you want to go to hydrogentap.com, you'll see the Aron cell pretty well spelled out for you. As you can see, the wire I've got wrapped around the sides only because that's just an easier way for me to do it at this point. Otherwise I would be wrapping them from top to bottom. What I'm going to do is see if the combination of plate and wire makes any sense. I get a number of emails, to say the least, about questions concerning sanding down the plates. If you think about it like I do, this should in effect be the same effect as sanding down the plates, or at least give us some idea of how a reaction would be. Matter of fact, I think this should be even better than sanding down the plates, but we'll see. I'm hooking what you're looking at there, that plate is the negative plate, the hydrogen plate. And it's in electrolyte and distilled water. I'm hooking it up now. And we're going to see what happens. One of the things I have noticed is the ends of the plates get the bubbles first, and you can see that again happening here. That was the reason for this whole experiment. So let's see what happens with the wire. The reason we're looking at it at this angle is because I have to have the plate facing the positive plate in order to get a decent view. I should say get a decent facing on the two electrodes. It is interesting. Just don't quite know what it is yet. Let me get another view of this. Not quite sure what this is, but as usual, it's something. How's that? Can't seem to get a good... There's the other plate on the left. I really was expecting more from it than this. What I'm going to do is put the charging circuit across the battery. Let's see what that does. Should bring the battery up to about 14 volts. It's really looking like the edge is producing more hydrogen. Have to do some more experiments, some more tests to find out if that is in fact true. But it looks like, at least for this test that putting or lacing the wire around the cell does not help. But if you look at the side of the plate, the edge, it sure looks like we're getting a lot more hydrogen there. Could be an illusion. You have to check that out. Tell you one thing, the wire on the plates is not doing anything. As you can see, brings us back to the area idea. Well, it's one more thing that we found out that doesn't work, which is good news. If you rule out everything that doesn't work, eventually you're going to find everything that does work. That's how I look at it. The more mistakes you make, the closer you get. I've had a lot of calls, a lot of emails asking why I don't push the Myers effect, if we can use that word, the pulsing system. I have not been able to prove that works at all. And I know I'll get a number of emails saying that I'm not doing it correctly. Well, that may be so. I can only judge from what I've seen. The other thing that I will state is that every time someone claims to have made more hydrogen with less energy, they don't show the amount of hydrogen coming out. Another thing that I want to put out there for the record is that I am doing this to prove to myself and perhaps you what works and what doesn't work. Until I see it really working, I cannot believe it, although I'd love to believe it. If you're like me, you finally got to the point where 90% of what we see on the web is false or mistakes. I believe probably most of it is mistakes, misinterpretation of what's there. If you've been following my work, if you want to call it that, experiments for the last year, you'll notice I've gone through almost every stupid mistake there is on the book. But at least you know that what you're seeing is what's there. If you have any questions, you can write me at John Ahrens at hydrogentap.com, or you can just go to the site hydrogentap.com and you can see the pretty good pictures of the cells I have. As you can see, the plate's putting out the area is what we're about here. Those wires do not seem to be doing anything for us. Again, this is a negative plate, hydrogen plate. It's in lye, and the lye is in distilled water. That's what I'm working with now, is all distilled water. That way I have a baseline to work with. I'm using lye because it seems to be the easiest to get results with. And I've done a lot of reading on the lye, and almost all the experiments I have found have been using it. But there are other media.